You just turn this one dial and you're tuned in perfectly.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Explain News. Okay guys, today we're gonna look at extremely hyped release of Skymaxx Pro version 3. So it's been a long waited release for volume 3. It's a paid upgrade. If you had a version 2 or 1, you can get this for half price and for 60 days.
You just turn this one dial and you're tuned in perfectly.
What's good about it? Some clouds just look absolutely stunning. 13 cases, it's better than anything we had on Explain. These are volumetric clouds. They look soft, they got nice feel to them. Skymaxx is like all-in-one solution. If you look at other simulators like FSX, you got Rex clouds, you got Rex soft clouds, and it's like lots of bits and bobs which then you have to make into Lego and build one whole package. So Skymaxx has it all. It's got soft clouds, it's got overcast layer, and it just looks more natural. It looks more natural, and yeah, it just makes flying experience much more immersive. The colors are beautiful. The only thing I would suggest is that you should use actual weather rather than preset weather, because meta, like NOAA weather filter plugin, it provides more data, so the cloud layering is more natural, and when you select manually, it just looks a bit boring. So if you want to get the best effects, probably you should use real weather, real wind lofts, etc. So it's beautiful. The drawing distance has increased dramatically if you got a powerful computer. So now it allows clouds to draw much further. Although Explain clouds simulated the distance better than Skymaxx itself, this one now provides better quality clouds for further distance.
You just turn this one dial and you're tuned in perfectly.
So, what's bad about it? One of them is that when plane flies through the cloud, it doesn't affect the airplane itself. It affects all other things, all other objects in the scenery, but the airplane remains untouched by the cloud. If it flies in the middle of a cloud, if you look through the window, look at the wing view, if it's foggy, if it's cloudy, you won't see any transition, no reduction in transparency, no reduction. You can see the whole wing 100% opacity, so there's no integration. And if you look at the outside view, shift F4, no matter how far you increase the distance between point of view and the plane in the middle of a cloudy sky, you will be seeing the airplane clearly at 100%. However, on the ground, if your airplane is on the ground, When you do the same trick, you can see the reduction in opacity, transparency, and the further you go in a foggy weather, the less you will see all objects, including the airplane. So that's a caveat.
You just turn this one dial and you're tuned in perfectly.
Now, what is the ugly? So the ugly things, it has some annoyances, which some of them can be fixed with an update without going to version 4. It just there's a slider in the settings. There's a slider in the settings which says to improve transition between the objects layering. And if you look, the slider is not as effective as it could be. If you look at this example, it just line when there's very rough separation between where the fog is or cloud is and where there is no cloud. It's very rough, no transition. It's like black or white. So so that's not great. Another thing is, well, it's all probably whole explain thing. If you look, the weather transition between weather fronts, if you look at that, the transitions, well, there are no transitions. Well, there are transitions, but they too fast, and going from stormy weather to clear sky just happens like a switch. Here is cloudy weather, there's rain falling, and boom, 5 seconds later you got clear skies. And that's probably the worst thing about X-Plane or Skymaxx. So it looks like Skymaxx is dependent on X-Plane, so it affects both of them. So that's really annoying, not having smooth transitions between weather fronts, and it looks ugly. It doesn't look natural. So clearly that distracts from hopefully in the future updates, things like transitioning between cloud and no cloud could be done much better, just increasing the distance, because in real life everything has smooth transitions mostly. Very rarely you get a block of something and a block of massive storm and a block of clear weather. Just transitions between fogs, just need to extend that. I can see this especially when rain's falling, you get these concentric subtle circles which are great, which affect the opacity, but it needs to be done that include, if you look at the slider which allows the transition blend cloud to the mountain, for example, it just needs to go further. It's just the beginning what they've done now, but it needs to go further. So if cloud is 100 meters above, 100 feet above the ground, you want to have some transition to the same ground, because normally that happens. Just it has to be this little leeway point which you have to give. Not everything is black and white, in other words. So yeah, so that's the ugly thing. So overall, it's much better because it's all in one. It's not like FSX got gazillion of add-ons which then adds into one. So this one's, it's much more complete add-on and plugin, and it makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference. You have to have a very powerful computer in order to draw the distance, or select dense particles option in the cloud in the top layer. It decreases frame rates considerably. The best setting is to when you feel that your frame rate is dropping, the best thing is to do is just to reset all Skymaxx Pro version 3 settings by pressing button reset. That way it will bring to default settings, and then again it's trial and error to see which frame rate works for you. But a lot of users reported that it's an improved frame rate, especially over version 2. I didn't feel that, but still it got better effects than volume 2, version 2. The frame rate, you need a powerful computer to run at the highest settings as all graphical things in the world, but default settings is really nice. I've tested against X-Plane default clouds, and it's evenly matched. Didn't see just probably a couple of frames difference between them, so it's really good. So it's good to have add-on it's not more taxing than the original, because most of the add-ons on X-Plane just they usually are a big hit to the frame rate. All the airports, all third-party airports, they're just a big hit to everything. If you see flying yourselves over a default X-Plane scenery, it's much better frame rate rather than third parties. So keep in mind that you might need a powerful card, but everything in X-Plane needs a powerful card, powerful processor, and lots of memory. So as Wycliffe Barrett said on his vlog, in his 100th, his Jubilee vlog 100, probably there's no computer built that can run X-Plane on the maximum settings, and completely agree in that, because every YouTube video that posted saying max settings, whether that's FSX prepared or X-Plane, they say on max settings, but they never do on max settings. The reason being, it has to render whole big world, it has to render the massive world, and if other 3D games, the world actually is quite limited. If you compare the scale of each other, you'll see the difference. That's why it's such a resource intensive simulation. So yeah. So it was a Skymaxx Pro version 3 review. So next time we're gonna talk about Peter Hager's A319. It's little baby Airbus. We'll see how it compares to Child Design A320.